Hello, these videos are for Thursday, May 7th. Okay, so in the announcement, I posted the link to the 2020 sample macroeconomics questions for you, and we're going to run through those right now. Okay, so the first question that you're going to have on this year's exam on the 20th or 21st, I've forgotten which day your macro is actually two short questions, two of the old 5-point type questions. They're just stacked right together. And they are, frankly, two different questions, as you're going to see when we go through this. But your answers will just follow right along. A, B, C, D, E will be the answers for the first of the two short questions. And then F, G, H, I, and J will be the answers for the second of the two short questions. So the first short question is based on this graph behind me, this table of numbers behind me here. And it says the output and prices of goods and services in country X are shown in the table here. Assume 2009 is the base year, calculate A and B. A is the nominal gross domestic product for 2010. Well, that's just the number of units times the price of those units. Add it all together, you get the nominal GDP. So that would be for part A. Here's your answer for A. And I'm sure you're going to have to show your work. So if you're writing this out, great. If you're trying to type this, you're going to have to quickly type in the numbers. And these numbers are 8 times 250, which is 20. Okay. 10 times 10, $10 is 100. And 5 times 5, $5 is 25. Add that up and you get 145. And there's your answer for part A. If you're doing it by hand and then going to take a photo of it, great. If you're typing it in, you need to type all this stuff up. The answer key that I have from the original year, 2011, I think it was, just says 20 plus 10 plus 25 is enough for the student to show their work. Probably best to show all of it, but at least show that part of it. For part B, it says, what's the real GDP in 2010? Well, that is the 2010 quantities using the 2009 prices, the base year prices. So here we go 8 times 250. And that price actually didn't change, so that's still 20. But now 10 times $6 is 60. And 5 times $4 is 20. And that adds up to 100. And that's your answer for part B. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. If you're typing it out again, you need to type all those numbers in quickly. Okay, all right. It's good to have scratch paper so you can kind of think about what you're doing before you start typing, if that's what you're going to do. Scratch paper to think about it, and then your actual answer sheet where you've got your APID number and your initials. Remember, do not put your name on your answers, only your initials. Okay, all right. Part C, if in one year the price index is 50 and in the next year the price index is 55, what is the rate of inflation from one year to the next? So now they're not referring back to this material anymore. They're just saying in part C, if the price level is 55 in one year, 55, and it's 50 in the previous year, the difference between the price levels is 5. So 5 over the first year, year 1 it was 50, year 2 it was 55. So the difference, 50 is the base year, it was the first of the 2 years. 5 over 50 is 10%. That's a 1, 10%. And that's the answer for part C. Okay? And you need to show 5 over 50 equals 10%. Part D, assume the next year's wage rate will be 3% higher than this year's because of inflationary expectations. Don't worry about why. It's going to be wage rates 3% higher. The actual inflation rate is 4%. So wages aren't keeping up with inflation. At the beginning of the year, will the real wage rate, what you can actually buy with your wages, be higher, lower, or the same as it is today? Well, nominal wages are going up by 3%. Inflation is 4%. So the real wage rate will be lower because it's not keeping up with inflation. Part C. Assume Sarah gets a fixed rate loan from a bank when the expected inflation rate is 3%. If the actual inflation rate is 4%, who benefits from the unexpected inflation? And again, this question has nothing to do with part A, B, or C. So part D stands on its own. She has a fixed rate loan. The expected rate of inflation was 3%. So the inflation premium tacked onto the real rate of interest was 3. The actual rate of inflation turns out to be 4. Sarah is the one who's better off because her loan payments will have less value than was expected. Okay, so Sarah is the one who's better off there. So that is the first part. I'm going to pause the video and get set up for the second part. Okay, this is part 2 of question number 1. I know the video just changed there. I erased the previous stuff and have the graph for part 2 of question number 1. Okay, so now they switch entirely. We're talking about these two countries, Ashna and Luna, and the absolute advantage, comparative advantage type thing. So I know that they said that there wouldn't be any of Unit 6, which is basically international trade, but this is part of the comparative advantage stuff, which was back in Unit 1. And so we need to do this anyway. So here it says, using equal amounts of resources, the countries of Ashna and Luna can each produce any combination of food and machines described on their production possibilities curves above. Remember, a PPC is usually arched outward, but when we do these comparative advantage questions, they simplify it greatly and they make them straight line production possibility curves. They don't really curve, the production possibility lines. All right. Which country has an absolute advantage in the production of machines? And it's clearly Luna. With the same amount of resources, Luna can make 40 machines per whatever, per week, per month, per time, whatever that time period is. Ashna can only make 10, so Luna has the absolute advantage. That's answer F, Luna, absolute advantage. If it says to explain, that's what you say. They can make 40 when Ashna can only make 10. Part G, which country has an absolute advantage in the production of food? Again, it's Luna for all the same reasons. Luna, with the same amount of resources, can make 40 units of food. Ashna can only make 30 units of food. Therefore, Luna has the absolute advantage in both machines and in food. Which country has a comparative advantage in the production of machines? So machines is this horizontal axis here, which I didn't label originally. M-A-C-H, machines, and this is food. Okay. So, Ashna has a huge advantage in the machine, Luna rather, has a huge advantage in the machines over Ashna. And in fact, they do have the comparative advantage there also. So again, answer H for the third time, the answer is Luna. You have to explain it. And the explanation is Luna has the comparative advantage because it can produce them at a lower opportunity cost than Ashna. Luna only gives up one machine. Okay, they could either make 40 machines or 40 foods, so it's 1-to-1 ratio. They give up 1 unit of food. They give up 1 unit of food to make a machine, whereas Ashna has to give up 3 units of food to make 1 machine. Okay, so machines are cheaper in Luna. Luna has the comparative advantage. Next part, that was H. So I, with trade between these two countries, which country will import food? Okay, who's going to import food? In other words, who has the comparative advantage in food because they're going to be the one that's going to be exporting the food? Well, the comparative advantage in food is going to be Ashna, and Luna is going to be importing food. So here again, the fourth time, Luna is the answer. 4 times in a row, Luna is the answer. Why? Luna should import food because it has a higher opportunity cost of producing food than Ashna. Ashna can make food. When Ashna makes food, they only give up 1/3 of a machine. When Luna makes food, they give up one full machine instead of 1/3 of a machine. It would receive food for half the number of machines that it must pay without trade. Ashna would receive 1/2. Okay, I'm sorry, I started to read the wrong thing there. Ashna can produce food at a cost of 1/3 machine, while Luna must pay 1 full machine for the food. All right, part J. Give an example of terms of trade that are acceptable to both countries. Well, the terms of trade here are the trade-offs are 1-to-1 in Ashna and 1-to-3 in Luna. Something between these two would be 1-to-2. Okay, so 1-to-2 is what they're looking for there. Okay, if Luna paid half machine per unit of food, it would receive food for half the number of machines it must pay without trade. Ashna would receive a half machine per unit of food rather than 1/3 of a machine per unit of food as it would receive without trade. I know that part is complicated. The last part of the question is always the most difficult one. So hopefully you'll at least get the trade-off right if you have any ratio in between the two ratios for the countries, and then you have to explain why that works. Okay. All right. So that's question number 1. I'm going to make a new video for question number 2. Macro question number 2 will be the next video.